for me, man, the way that I make real progress on the spiritual path is I sit down when I meditate, and I really just do not get up until I have decided emotionally and spiritually how I want to live. Because at some point you realize that all of this work, it's how you live. It's embodying it. And you'll probably resist it, man. You'll probably not want to do it. Me too, man. You know, the honest truth is I don't want to do it a lot of the time until I really realize that it's the only way. So really the secret, man, is to let yourself get to a point of suffering and pain to then realize that you can only really do it in this way. Now, when you start to do it, the cool thing is, it is actually what you want to do. Yeah, you can actually have a realization, and you'll certain words and phrases will come to you. The way that I put it these days is living in truth, or living the good life. So you'll remember these phrases, man, and they'll sort of come up to you, come up for you as you're meditating and stuff, and as you're living that life, and you realize, wow, oh my God, how could I not live this way? You know, like recently, man, I've just woken up again. Like, dude, how could I not live with consciousness? Because what happens, man, and this is just for me at least, man, is I really notice like how I'm, naturally someone who loves to seek out pleasure. You know, I'll put it this way, man. In another life, I am a drug addict. You know, it's a fun little game I play with my brother sometimes when we think, what would be alternate lives that we would live out? And honestly, man, like a really close life to this one for me is I'm a drug addict. You know, probably something like heroin. And I've already been a drug addict in a certain sense with a couple of different things, weed, pornography, maybe one or two other things. But the reason I'm not living that life, man, and I can't, is because of consciousness. So along with feeling, the pain and the suffering, to spur you on and to galvanize the commitment to the spiritual life, what you also really need is consciousness. So this is why, if I ever fall asleep, sometimes what I like to do is have a spiritual ceremony, take certain things, wake up again, raise consciousness like crazy, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God, I've been so asleep. This is what you want. You want to notice how asleep you are. And you just, emotionally, you want to get sick of it, tired of it, bored of it. And you want to start to fall in love with how it feels to feel good. So what you'll notice is that when you commit to the spiritual life, you'll start living a more disciplined life. You'll start living spiritually. You'll adhere to spiritual principles, spiritual practices, and just your entire outlook on life is spiritual. When you have this, and you start to taste it and feel it and really experience it, when you feel clean on the inside, because you're eating clean, you're living clean, you're meditating, you feel it in your cells that it's the right way. And really what you need to do is you need to realize. That's what you need to have happen for you, man. It's not enough to believe or to kind of want it to happen or to do it out of, desperation or suffering. You got to realize, oh my God, it's the good life. It's the way to live. Right? And it's okay, man. Like, don't worry if you don't see that. Honestly, it's taken me so long to start to, to see it now. And like, I felt a bit of shame. Not a bit of shame. I felt a lot of shame, man, as I was coming up and developing myself and purifying. Because you do it in phases. But when I was in those earlier phases, I just felt a bit of shame and like, self-judgment, a bit of guilt if I was to, eat, go off my diet and stuff. I didn't really even fucking have a diet. Or I did a bit of scrolling or something. And I would just feel like, shit, man. Like I kind of felt like a pretender, And then I noticed like wisdom within me shared with me that there's no point of judging myself. And really it naturally sort of falls away, especially as you commit more. as you commit more, you don't feel the judgment because you don't judge yourself, because you actually respect yourself a lot. And this is the thing, man, like if I could offer you some advice, it would be just love yourself throughout all of it, man. Because it takes time. It takes time. You can be young and you can know where you're headed, even just a little bit of vision. And you can kind of be struggling through the commitment to living the spiritual life. But you can know in your heart truth because you're connected enough. That's the thing, you know? So that's really important, man. Love yourself as you clean up. You go through different phases of cleaning up. And you got to be patient with yourself, man. It can take months and months and months to even just make a little bit of progress. Maybe you can, for me, man, like I just got stuck in a pattern of, overeating or, doing as much as I could, but then, living the completely opposite lifestyle. So living with discipline and then, living with indulgence. And again, it's so important to have consciousness if you are anywhere near this stage or through any of these stages, man. Because ultimately, discipline is important and that's what you will end up choosing. But consciousness, it's funny, man, really. I've mentioned this before. Sometimes when I would, binge eat or when I would be super indulgent, sometimes, way back when I even could relapse, when I'd actually feel like very conscious because I had done what I shouldn't have done, but like I just was so accepting of what had happened. When you really just say, fuck it. So it's a bit of a release. It's like, oh, fuck, I don't care anymore. Let me just do it. And then that kind of like, I found myself weirdly conscious at times. And it wasn't necessarily conscious. It was my perspective was, what really counts in life? Now that I've finally let go, because I was holding on, because I was always trying to be disciplined. And then when I finally just allowed myself to have what I wanted, which was actually the best thing to do, which is why I did it for a long time, because I knew that I wouldn't get past it unless I had listened to it, unless I'd acted on it, which is why I always will say, burn through your karma. If you have desires, listen to them, act on them, but do so consciously. The way that you wake up is you don't bypass this stuff. I had this fantasy that I could just kind of like transcend certain things and not face the truth that I wanted to do stuff. Sometimes, man, if you're really honest and conscious, you'll look within and you'll see that what you really want to do, you may even struggle to share with others because it's so unbelievably selfish and gratifying. You got to be honest with that, man. I have that too. I may come across as someone who's quite pure, someone who's done a bit of work on themselves, but I'm no different to you. I've learned to accept that you got to work with your humanness on this path. I was so scared of my humanness for so long, really just being seen in my humanness. But even more, me being with my humanness. Because I've realized something like, it's really difficult to be seen when you yourself don't look at yourself in that state or doing that thing. So it all begins with you seeing yourself, you looking at yourself. For a long time, man, like when I used to watch a bunch of pornography and just fucking veg out and get high and stuff, I'd be blocking out a lot of things. I remember so many times where I would sort of just disassociate or not really be honest with what I'm seeing and experiencing. Like hundreds of times, man. Probably thousands of times. And this is the thing. So this is a seriously important principle. This is why we commit to the truth. Because the truth will set you free. The truth is what you want to align yourself with. It's only your fantasies and the stories that you tell yourself to prevent you from looking at the truth. There comes a moment, man, where you just be honest and you start to see and really appreciate, right, this is bullshitting. And you realize, I've been bullshitting myself. Fuck. I really didn't want to admit that. Now that I admit that I've been bullshitting myself about this, what does this mean for the rest of my life? And you'll have to kind of sift through all this bullshit, and it's just everywhere. And you'll be like, oh God, I've been lying to myself about so much shit. And like, even now I don't want to look at this stuff. And you'll go through all of it, man. But again, if you have the truth, if you care about truth, that'll be a guiding light. That will help you get through. You will be rewarded if you commit to truth. So, commit to truth. And that's what you do when you commit to the spiritual life, is you basically just commit to the truth, to telling the truth, to feeling the truth. Man, this one for me has been huge. Like, I each day now, I'm noticing that I feel so much, but for most of my life, I haven't been aware of it. It's a little bit like when you eat kind of shitty food when you're younger, and you're not aware enough to know the effect it has on your body, and you don't want to be aware of it, so you don't see it. You don't choose to see it in your experience. You kind of block it out. For me, man, like all kinds of fucked up things I'm experiencing, even just on my casual morning walk after meditation, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having this sort of an existential crisis, like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is here? Fuck! This has been here every day of my life, but I haven't looked at it. So it's becoming friends with the truth. But you can do all this stuff, but it doesn't really, 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 really count, or not count, become true until you commit. This is best evidenced in my life, man, in my sort of world. You can see this, man. You can see it in me. Like, I don't mess around with pornography anymore. You know that I can't. I've already shared with you so many times, man, that like, if I could, I would. I loved it when I did it. Obviously, I hated it as well. But I would do it. I just can't. And you got to get to the point. The point there was commitment. So basically, man, and like what you realize is until you commit truly and fully, you are still bullshitting yourself. Now, you don't need to judge yourself for that, man. The ego might say some stuff, but you don't need to do that. You just need to be honest. Honesty is the way. Self-honesty is the way. And then, sharing that honesty is good. But it all starts with self-honesty, that you're not committed. And again, as I mentioned, loving yourself as you realize that you haven't been being true with yourself is very important. So just as a thing, man, I want you to notice that this video is not about committing to not using pornography. It's committing to the spiritual life. Because there's something that I want to share with you that I don't want to apologize for, which is I notice myself growing a lot. And it's just where I'm at. It's just what I'm doing, man. But my sort of shadow self is like, come back to, PMO, no PMO, motivate me, all this stuff. And I don't want to apologize for growing, and I'm not going to. And you wouldn't want me to either, man. But I just want to be really honest about how, like, I may touch on that occasionally, man. But really, like, commitment is the difference. You will move on from things. And right now, this is me moving on. You can see it. I don't talk about that stuff anymore, really. And that's freedom. It's where it doesn't even show up in your life. So, if that's a thing for you, brother, and you need to handle that, be honest. and treat it as its own thing. Because this stuff, talking about committing to the spiritual life, honestly, man, it's very advanced. I have had to overcome many addictions: weed, pornography, sugar, overeating, phone usage, social media, just all this stuff, man, all the modern bullshit. I've had to overcome all of this stuff through a lot of fucking effort and commitment. And only now can I get really serious about committing to what is known as the spiritual life, or the good life, or living in truth. Yeah, man, so I just want to be transparent about that, because it shows you that there's different levels to this work. And if you're not quite at this level of commitment to really quite a high consciousness way of living, dude, that's okay. I'm letting you know, like, I was there. And you just evolve if you care. Really, it boils down to, do you care? Do you care about yourself? Do you care about truth? Really, man, do you care about feeling good? That's what it is, man. It's caring about feeling good. The disciplined life, it takes care of you, man. You feel amazing. Healthy, eating healthy, man, it makes such a difference. Okay, man. My friend, if you'd like any help from me more than these videos, I do offer coaching and mentoring. If you're interested in that, you can see the link in the description. Otherwise, man, take care. Lots of love. And as always, man, peace.